Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Gino here talking about the stuff that I like to talk about. And today, that means talking about letting your frustration fuel you. So I've been in the same position of stuck in the 9 to 5, frustrated with work, not getting the promotion, not feeling like you're earning enough money, everything feeling like the world's against you, right? But that usually leads to complaining. And complaining's fine, not really, but insofar as it just expresses the frustration that you have with the situation. And I'll let you guys in on a little insight here. Frustration can fuel absolute growth for you, be it in your career, your finances, your relationships. Frustration is an inward sign that you know something's wrong, that you know something could be better, that something's not quite clicking. And with your career, it's amazing how intuitive humans are. We know better than our conscious mind does, right? So when you're sitting at that desk in that cube farm, staring at the wall and marking off the days and listening to Dave in the cubicle next to you tell you for the 50th time today how the weather's real nice, and Linda over there in the corner is just really using the heck out of that pencil sharpener, and the printer's going off, and your boss asks you if you got the memo for the 10th time today. And in your heart of hearts, you think, wow, there's got to be more to this, right? I'm capable of more. You are, and there is. You are, and there is. The trick is making the link, the jump between just voicing frustration by complaining, which is not actually a useful outlet of that frustration. Don't get me wrong, it helps alleviate some of that frustration for sure, but complaining is not actually good for you. Sharing your burdens with a loved one is, and that's very different than complaining. But just complaining, not a very useful form of getting rid of that frustration. Instead, if you get pissed enough and mad enough, you can actually change your situation. I know, crazy. It's the fuel that you can use to change your situation. I'll tell you guys a little story. I've already mentioned it in passing on some of my other videos, but I'll go into more depth here because I think it's the most useful example. I have never liked being at the middle of the pack in school, college, work. Never been that way, right? I always like pushing myself. I always like finding the new challenge. If I ever feel like I've stagnated growth-wise, I get very frustrated. I get antsy. I just want to do something. Okay, new certification, new education, new challenge, new job, new something. Give me more. And so with me, when I got out of college in 2019 from USC, I went to work for a company called General Atomics here in San Diego. Great company, gave me a chance. I am very grateful to them. I don't want anything that I'm going to say from here on to sound anything but grateful. One thing's recognizing the good that they did for me, and one thing's recognizing the good I did for them, right? So I went in there, sprinting to hit a treadmill that was at walking pace and a leisurely walking pace, which is what everyone there does for the most part. And I remember just clashing with a bunch of managers. I'm young and dumb generally. So I try to get a bunch of stuff done and tell them how all this stuff needs to change. And for a lot of good reasons, they're telling me, well, you just need more experience first. You got to see how everything works. But sometimes the fresh set of eyes actually can find the things that change. And the people that have been around forever are just used to inefficiency or things that are wrong, right? That's usually how it is. And I worked so hard for 9 months that I was there, and I decided to get ahead with my education. I'm an industrial engineer by study and trade, and there's a specialization within industrial engineering called Lean Six Sigma. If you guys have heard of it, it's basically just efficiency training for processes and systems. And I went and I got my green belt, which is the first real belt, I'll call it, or the first real level. It's modeled after the belt system from karate. And after getting my green belt, I Went and got my black belt, which was much harder. That was a project, and it was peer reviewed, and I had to present in front of a board of a bunch of other black belts, and it was pretty intimidating, but it was a really good experience for me. And then the next level was actually master black belt, which I also got at the age of 22 from the Six Sigma Global Institute. And that one was far more theoretical. That had to deal with more statistical analysis, regression analysis, and stuff like that. I'd honestly say less useful than the black belt. But the point being, I went and got the standard, which was the green belt for my level. That was like a little bit above and beyond. And then I went and I got a black belt, which was even higher above and beyond. And then I went and I got a master black belt, which was unheard of for somebody under 40, right, to get. But that's what I did. And I did it all relatively quickly because I just dedicated almost all of my free time to that. It's amazing what you can do when you're frustrated, because I wanted to advance. Great. And when it came time for my yearly review, which was just coming up on a year, because they have it scheduled at a certain date, not necessarily a year from when you joined, my review came back with meets expectations. Not above, not below, meets. And the explanation given to me was the company didn't have the resources to give raises this year. Business wasn't as good as it should be. And since the raises were directly tied to the performance reviews, they couldn't give me a better performance review because they couldn't give me a better raise. I understand that. I don't like that. So I obviously became immensely frustrated with the situation beyond what I already was. And I remember my family telling me for the last 9 months that I was at this place saying, Eugenio, Gino, you got to find a way out of this because you're just complaining a ton. You know, you're obviously not happy, but it's not good for you just to be so mad all the time, so frustrated, and complaining certainly not the right way. After 9 months, we're all worn out from it too. We're all tired of it too. We're tired of hearing about it. Do something about it. Good advice. Great advice. So I went and I did something about it. I applied to probably 200 jobs in the San Diego area for my specialization of industrial engineering. And lo and behold, I got some interviews at General Dynamics. Went through their interview process after 5 different times to 5 different rounds to them offering me a leadership engineering position as a staff engineer for one of the San Diego manufacturing sites for motors or servos. And I accepted, of course. And I remember seeing the face of my fellow engineers and my manager over at General Atomics, who was an amazing guy. I really, really liked that manager too. It's not his fault that his hands were tied with what the business had going on. And I remember seeing all their faces just kind of aghast at, where I was going and what I was doing. They all said, huh? You're going where? To do what? What's the position? That's crazy. How'd you do that? And it was crazy for a 22-year-old to be hired out to do that. And after being in General Dynamics for a while and talking to more of the guys, specifically one of the VPs there, kind of headhunted me down from earlier on in the process and became one of my biggest cheerleaders behind the scenes to get me hired. But what I learned was the reason they even gave me the interview, 1, I was way too young. 2, I was too inexperienced time-wise. But the thing that forced them to give me the interview, and then I sold them on the interview, the thing that forced them to give me the interview, 1 second, pause. Resume. The thing that forced them to give me the interview was the fact that I was overqualified for the position because of my certifications. They were looking for a black belt preferred, right? The level of black belt. If you remember, it was green, black, master black, right? I had a master black. And so the hiring managers over there and the VP said, this guy has a master black belt at 22. There's probably something about him that we're not really getting right now, But we were ideally looking for a black belt if we could get one. And this kid's, one level beyond that. What's the deal? He's got to have something that's, more unique here. We got to give him an interview. And after they gave me the interview, I sold them on myself and my abilities and my confidence, my ability to learn, which I think is pretty high. That's the best thing that engineering school ever gave me at USC. There's plenty of engineering tools I learned, but the best thing I learned was how to learn. And I got a lot better at it and faster, right? The overqualification is what got me through the door. And the only reason I got that overqualification was because I was so frustrated at my previous job that I forced myself to do something about it after my poor family heard me complaining for so long. So what I'm saying is the frustration is amazing. Let the frustration fuel you. The frustration is just a piece of your subconscious telling you that something's wrong. You can do better. Don't limit yourself here. Keep going. Find something else. This is not where you want to be, right? This is not what you want to be doing. And if you guys have made it this far in the video, I really appreciate it. Obviously what I'm saying has resonated a little bit with you. If you guys want to listen to more of this stuff, you can subscribe. If you got any questions for me, please leave them down below. I'd love to answer them. I try to answer every single one. I think I have so far. But that's generally what I like talking about. I like talking about the reality of work and investment and finance for young people. Because we've got the cards stacked against us, guys. We really do. But the good news is there's a way out. And I am not out of the woods yet, but man, am I on my way. I've got a lot to tell you guys. There's so much for me to share. But for right now and this video, we're going to leave it there. Hopefully it was useful to see how you can let your frustration fuel you. Don't complain, guys. Get better. Gino out.